Chocolate cake versus chocolate tart. Can that even be a comparison? Now, chocolate tart is a staple in 3 Michelin star restaurants. Chocolate cake barely makes it into coffee shops. I'm going to change that and make a chocolate cake that knocks chocolate tart off its perch. I'm going to make it simpler too, and within 35 minutes. You don't think that's possible? Let's wait and see. But most important, did I succeed? Well, we find out in a minute.
Oh, that's still lovely, but I prefer that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So it's
They pretty much speak for themselves.
Yeah,
Much
like salad
lighter.
food, you know?
Yeah.
First, what got me here? Years ago, I worked for several 3 Michelin star chefs like Pierre Kaufman, the Roux brothers, and Freddy Girardet. They all had chocolate tart on the menu. And when I was a head chef for Marco Pierre White, he had it on his restaurant menus too. Sure, me being Austrian, I could just whip up the most famous of all chocolate cakes, Sachertorte. But Sachertorte is no match to chocolate tart. But I think my chocolate cake is. And I took an idea from Sachertorte, as you see in a minute. But before, we need a comparison. A 3 Michelin star chocolate tart, I started with my very best short crust pastry: butter, sugar, almond meal and eggs, cacao, and I mixed it all together. So why did I not just add the flour straight away? So the gluten does not get developed. Egg whites contain water. Water triggers gluten and gliadin to develop gluten strains. My short crust would end up chewy. Now I added the flour, I mixed it well, and to double check, I cut the dough in half to see if everything was well combined. But it was very soft because of the butter, so I needed to chill the dough to allow the butter to harden. That made the rolling out easier. With my chocolate cake, I don't have those problems. For the base, I got the cake ring. I fixed the bottom to it, just like that. That way it's easier to slip it onto the plate later. I got the chilled pastry out. I sliced it to the approximate thickness I needed onto baking paper, but I left a few little gaps. More baking paper. I rolled it. Now can you see how the ends join together? Great trick, isn't it? Much easier than to try to roll out a big lump like that and make it nice and even. The baking paper also helped me to lift the pastry into the mold. Rolling it with flour with that pastry would not have worked. No developed gluten, hence the dough will keep breaking like that. I disconnected the paper and gently reattached it. That way it peels off easier. I lifted it into the ring. But when I tried to pull the paper off, I realized the dough got too soft and too sticky. So I placed the whole thing back in the fridge where the butter hardened again. You see? That's much easier. I lifted the dough into the corners, but I needed to remove any air pockets, so I wiped the paper from the center outwards, just like so. I folded it over, but I did not cut the short crust pastry off on the top. Remember, no gluten, no flexible dough, because when I bake it, it gets hot right on the top here, and the pastry would slip down on the sides and look like that. But that's not the only problem. With a base like that, I could not fill my tart fully either. But that way I can. And I could go even a bit higher than the ring, and cutting it off after cooking, it's much easier. Baking beads, mine I use since years, 30 to 40 minutes in the oven. Then I remove the beads and the paper. I check the tart shell for gaps. The ones I found, I filled with some of the raw pastry. I placed it back into the oven for a few minutes so that the raw pastry cooked and the rest crisped evenly. The time in between, I did not waste. I got some pouring cream and heated it. I added some chocolate and some butter. I kept heating it, a bit of vanilla essence for flavor, and whisking it till it was silken like that. I turned off the heat and whipped some eggs in. I filled that into my oven hot tart shell and turned off the heat and let the tart set for 20 to 30 minutes. To check if it was cooked, I touched the surface. If it broke like that, it was not ready. I was after that. I removed it, I chilled it to room temperature and trimmed off the overhanging pastry. Now when I worked in those Michelin star restaurants, chocolate tart was always made in advance and then chilled. But fridge cold, the chocolate becomes too hard. So it was always brought back to room temperature. But I need to confess, I never liked the surface look of chocolate tart. So I made a caramelized filler pastry fan. And I'll show you that in a minute. Because first, I really want to show you my chocolate cake. And my thinking behind it was chocolate and pistachios. You cannot beat that. Apricot jams, comes some sachertorte. Vanilla, always a winner. So with that in mind, I was ready for a challenge. Plus, you remember, it had to be easier, so I needed some further thinking. Short crust is an additional texture dimension. It worked so well in chocolate tart, so it should work really well here. But I made a short crust butter, so no rolling with my cake. So butter, sugar, egg yolks, flour, cacao, baking powder, pistachio paste, vanilla, salt, and all together. Yes, you're right, I added the flour at the same time, and no, I did not stuff up. I have no egg whites, so I have no water. Fat by itself is not sufficient to turn gluten and gliadin into glutinous strains. That stuff I spread into a ring, I baked it, and I topped it with apricot jam. While all that was happening, I did not waste my time. I melted some chocolate and butter. I beat some egg yolks and some eggs separately till they looked like that. I mixed that with my chocolate butter. I added pistachio meal and cacao. But you could use almond meal. And as always, the recipes and the temperatures I will place you in the link below. Then I whipped the egg whites to a full meringue. I added the sugar and whipped it a little longer. I folded that through the chocolate mix. Now pay attention because this is extremely important. My short crust pastry I placed back in the oven because it needed to be hot. I needed to fill it hot. Why? Because my chocolate cake has a very short cooking time, just a little rise like that, so that the eggs are cooked, but not fully set. This is important. Would I bake it too long, the egg white proteins would fully harden and the cake would end up dry. Let me explain my thoughts behind it. And they were collapsed chocolate souffle. I don't know if you know, but some chocolate souffle recipes are just baked chocolate mousse. But to avoid a total collapse, I needed to add starch, but one that does not need cooking. Cacao powder was one, nutmeg the other, and at the same time I knew that the chocolate and the butter will firm the cake up after chilling. And I end up with a wet, sticky and gooey texture. So what do you think of my thinking? Like a souffle, I only baked my cake for 15 minutes. I took it out, I chilled it. No need to bring it back to room temperature. Fridge cold is just fine, unlike with my chocolate tart. So I think I definitely succeeded with making it simpler. But what about the taste? Well, we find out in a minute. But then I looked at both and I did not like their looks. So I gave my cake a chocolate topping. I melted some white chocolate. Next, baking paper. I brushed the white chocolate onto it. I brushed a layer of dark chocolate over it. I chilled it and then I topped it with a really thick layer of dark chocolate. I chilled it, I cut it out, easy. Plus a caramel disc, which I show you in my floating island video. For my chocolate tart, I brushed some melted butter onto some filler pastry. I dusted it on both sides with icing sugar. I cut and tore and arranged it till it looked like that. I baked it till the sugar caramelized and the pastry was golden. It couldn't be any easier. I placed that on the tart, but by now I was a bit nervous because the big moment of taste testing has arrived. But before that, one last tip. Always cut your cake or tart with a heated blade so it melts itself through the chocolate and will make it look much prettier. Okay, so today it's my new creation chocolate cake.
You pointed at that one.
Yes, that's a chocolate cake.
Is that the new creation?
Yes.
I know already. That was a bit silly. Anyway, I still get to taste it, and I'm honest, so it doesn't make any difference. I prefer the look of that one, though.
Do you?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Well, that one you know well. I made it up many times today.
Okay.
So here we go. So we'd first try the chocolate tart.
That's a huge piece.
Already. We don't have to eat it.
You know me, I like to eat what's on my plate when it comes to chocolate.
There you go.
All right, this looks very dense. Look at that. How much chocolate is in that one morsel alone? Very chocolatey, dark, melts in your mouth. I'll probably serve it as little pieces, like cubes, rather than a whole piece. Unless you really love chocolate cake, like eating lots, then it's perfect. What's this on top? Is that pastry?
It's filo pastry, yes.
Oh, I like that.
Caramelized
Yeah.
filo pastry. I thought I sort of added different texture to it.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. I don't think I ate the two together before, but that's a very nice touch. Nice and sweet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So,
All right. Let's try this one. The new improved, or just an alternate. And I'm liking the look of that already because it looks less dense, which means I can eat more.
Should be like.
Minute on the lips, lifetime on the hips, isn't it? All right. Okay.
I did that.
That's very different, though.
Yes.
Is it similar when you show everybody how to do it?
Easier. That's much easier to do.
And it's got some jam in it too.
It's typical jam.
Much
like salad
lighter.
fruit, you know?
Yeah. They're both lovely. I do prefer this one.
There you go.
Well, it's lighter.
Yeah.
I think I have loved that one on occasion, haven't I? In the past, but it is, it is very dense. Quite happily make my way through that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's nice.
and you can
It's
see
like
as
that,
well.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's got the jam through it, and there's a bit of a biscuity base.
Yes, short crust in the bottom. All right.
That's lovely. Okay,
So, that's obviously a new favorite.
that's mine. That's yours. Oh, that's still lovely, but I prefer that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
So
they pretty much speak for themselves.
If you try it, it's really easy to do.
It's an easy to eat chocolate cake.
Yes.
And chocolate cakes are usually a bit challenging after a big meal, but I think you go okay with that.
Yeah. Okay, give it a try. It's really, really easy to do. It lasts you for a few days in the fridge. And check out my video on lamb shanks, which I think will go pretty well on a colder winter night with that chocolate.
So red
cake
wine with the
and-
lamb shank, champagne with the dessert. There you go.
Something like that.
Drink smashed up too.
Right.
Have I got chocolate all over my teeth now?
No, you don't.
That's good.
All right.
I can smell.
Yeah, so